Hi, it's Keith with On Target Canada. Stu, thanks for being with us today.
No problems.
Today we're going to do something a little bit different. One of the limitations in combat has always been how far somebody could throw a grenade. When you need that little extra oomph and that little extra power, basically you're looking at somebody's arm strength. And given combat conditions, how tired they are, that might not be very far. But they came up with a solution. And there's the Lee Enfield Rifle was used World War I and World War II. Different ways of doing it, but the same thing was basically using the rifle and the power behind the rifle to throw the grenade. Can you walk us through how that worked and how that developed between the two wars?
Sure, no problem. Well, the first war, they just used the original Mills bomb and tried to lob it, again, like you said, for normal means. And then they realized they can use the rifle to do such. And what they've done is that they made up a cup discharger that mounts onto the muzzle, and originally what they would do is just toss the Mills bomb in there and launch it with some success. But what they started to do afterwards is thread the bottom, put a round steel plate, insert, and then you got far greater distance because of that.
So you had less gas leakage around it, and it was more of a pressure.
Exactly, and if I remember correctly, you're able to launch these very accurately, great amount of success, and either lob it into the area you want and have it detonate, or if you wanted to, have a high perigee and actually do airbursts with it too.
Now obviously you're not firing around through here, so it was a special type of cartridge they were using?
Exactly, it was a special grenade blank.
And how long would it take them to put this on, swap in and out? Because being without your rifle in a defensive situation is not ideal.
Sure, I think what history said is that they'd actually modify or at least assign somebody with this and keep it on at all times. Because what happens is that you would get it fouling in there, so you wouldn't want to immediately switch over back and forth to your rifle or not. So there'd be one person just as your grenadier, I guess you can say.
For the battle.
Yes. And it's actually fairly easy to do. You just have to insert, rotate, and you got these two little clamps. As you rotate, the geometry of the ankle would just then clamp in place. You can also see there's a little shut off here, so now you can vary how much gas you need to launch your grenade downrange.
And how accurate from your readings was this?
It was very accurate. Once Grenadier knew how to operate it, he'd be able to then, within a couple of shots, get right onto his target. The only drawback is it's very punishing on your rifle. And most grenade launcher rifles you'll see will be wire wrapped. They'll have copper wire wrapped around here and here.
Extra reinforcement.
Reinforcement. So the idea being is that the gun fractured or broke, the wire wrap would keep it together. But I was told they only did that, I think, at the end of World War I and through World War II as well.
All right. Now this progressed during the interwar period. By the time it came around to World War II, they were still doing the same thing, but how they did it had changed slightly.
Exactly.
So can you show us that one?
Sure. And again, during World War I, they would use a specific, not specific, but a generic grenade that would be used for hand throwing as well as for rifle throwing or launching. With this one here, we would see now the dawn of a purpose-made rifle grenade. These rifle grenade launchers, I think, were made in Belgium by Fabric Nationale.
Okay.
I could be mistaken, but I definitely know that they're Belgian made. Oops. Put it on the right now. And there you go.
So that's now affixed onto there. It gives you a sight as well, so an improvement over the other one.
Exactly.
Calibrated, obviously, for throwing the grenade. In terms of power, the First World War, you were using the same grenade you were throwing by hand. For the Second World War, were they roughly equivalent, or were they more powerful because they were now a custom-made thing? Or?
Well, I think they were roughly around the same. Again, I'm not really that certain on it. I haven't had a chance to actually try them out. But again, they're purpose-built. They would have fins on it, so they'd be fin stabilized, so they'd be far more accurate.
probably a greater range as well when they're doing that. Still the same type of round. It was a custom round designed for pushing the grenade.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah. The interesting thing is for I'll call it modern rifle grenades. They've been around since maybe the late 60s to maybe even the 90s, and they'd actually have these rifle grenades out fit onto your muzzle like your AR-15 or M16, and they'd use your normal projectiles, and they'd be called shoot-throughs. So you can use live ammunition, and that would discharge the rifle grenade off your rifle.
Never seen that.
Yeah, they made them.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Were rifle grenades used after this? I know when Canada went to the C1, was there a rifle grenade attachment for that, or did they phase out basically around Korea? Or
well, they had rifle grenade adapters for the FNC-1A1s or the L1A1s, but very limited use.
Excellent. I guess they got more into the smaller rockets, the M72 after that, and moved on to that. Very interesting part of history. Very interesting the way they designed them and they developed them, and very unique that you actually have both examples here.
What's kind of unique as well is that the fact being is that this one here, you'll see that the sights are on top, right? So you either shoulder fire. I don't think you shoulder fire them, but you'd be able to plant the butt on the ground and fire them that way. For the number 3s, it was specifically designed that when you fire it, that the heel would be on the ground and you fire it upside down. The idea being is that you're now in line that way, and you put less stress on the stock.
Ah, harder to aim though.
It would be, but it's again more guessing and trial and error.
Became an art form.
Exactly, and I'm not too sure if you noticed, but I put a tennis ball on the table.
Yes, I did see that.
And again, what's kind of funny is that obviously we're not going to be launching rifle grenades at this point in time, because if you did have these, they're kind of expensive to launch and then figure out where they went.
Right.
What you can do is you can just get yourself your 303 blanks, toss a tennis ball in.
That's an interesting way of serving. Stu, thank you very much for bringing these out for us today.
Sure.
Always appreciate what you share with us and a little bit of history here.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Keith with On Target Canada. We'll see you again next time.